Hello, kindly people of YouTube. Punk Rock Fairy Princess here, and together we're doing another Starkid musical review. So for this video, I had two options because Trail to Oregon and Annie, a Parody, were performed in the same 2 weeks in 2014. But I decided to do Annie because I feel like it's super underappreciated and it's one of my favorite shows. So I thought, yeah, let's talk about Annie. Annie, a Parody is a Starkid show. It's a parody on Star Wars. Annie, a Parody was a Starkid musical that was performed in 2014. The book was written by Matt and Nick Lang, and the music was written by Pierce Sievers and Clark Baxtresser, also known as Talkfine. The musical follows Darth Vader, who is called Annie throughout this musical, as he goes back to Tatooine to pod race again. It kind of mimics those like 80s sports movies, like One Last Game and the underdog winning in the end. It kind of has that vibe throughout, which is really cool. So the format of this musical is really interesting, and I think that's partly why some people didn't like it as much, because it's not your traditional musical format. The actors on stage don't actually sing the songs, but a band like on the side of the stage sings the songs. I think this is a really interesting way to go for Starkid, because I haven't seen any musical like this. I'm not super well versed in Broadway musicals. I don't know how much this has been done before, but I think the format is super interesting. It allows for more complicated choreography, which is pretty great. The choreography in this show is on point. And fun fact, Mara Jade's audition in the end, Denise choreographed that bit herself, which is pretty cool. And also this format allows the show to focus more on the Starkid actors who are more well known for like acting than for singing, which is why we see like Chris Allen as Annie, and also Nick Lang as Pappy and Obi-Wan, even though Nick Lang can sing. I mean, we all saw him in Holy Musical Batman. Like, he's pretty good. Anyway, I'll talk more about the acting and characters later. So the music was written by Talkfine, which is a musical duo consisting of Clark Baxtresser and Pierce Sievers. Both of them have helped in the past and in future shows with Starkid. Clark actually played a role in Firebringer, a reasonably small role he played himself, one of the members of the Neanderthal tribe. So they wrote the songs for Annie, and they're all super catchy. Like, they are so incredibly fun. I'm not good at like reviewing songs. I'm better at reviewing like musical numbers, because then I can talk about like the story and what the role they play in the story. And these songs, they add to the like 1980s sports movie vibe, because they're like those classic 80s sports movies where there's like a song in the background as they're training, like the training montage song. Like, for example, you've got the classic training montage scene with the training montage song in the background, which is the Force You Got It song. Pretty much all these songs are puns or references to Star Wars. Of course, you've got Annie, Long Ago and Far Away, Strike Back, The Force You Got It, and Haunted by the Kiss, which Haunted by the Kiss is my favorite song. Not like other songs that I listen to the most. It's not like my favorite song like as a song, but it's my favorite song relating to the content of the song, because the lyrics are entirely the romantic lines that Anakin uses on Padme in the prequels, and honestly, I think that's just frickin' genius. That entire scene is glorious. Just making fun of the terrible writing in the prequels as it relates to the relationship between Anakin and Padme, which it could have been done so well. I mean, you've got like a forbidden romance going for you. That's always a classic, right? Anyway, sorry, this isn't supposed to become like a rant on the Star Wars prequels, which I don't hate the Star Wars prequels as much as I feel the majority of the Star Wars fandom does. I actually enjoyed them when I saw them for the first time, and I still can enjoy them now when I watch them. But I think we all can admit that those movies, they suffered from some bad writing. And the cast. So because this show ran at the same time as Trails to Oregon, there are a bunch of, main Starkid members who aren't a part of this show, which is actually pretty cool because we got to see some Starkid actors in roles we wouldn't normally see them in, and we saw some Starkid actors that we don't normally see at all. So I thought that was pretty great. So we have Chris Allen playing Annie, or Darth Vader, and honestly, he's amazing in this role. He's so good. Pretty sure what else is he in? He's in Holy Musical Batman, and of course he's in Little White Lie. It shows his versatility as an actor because, yeah, I've only seen him as Two-Face in Holy Musical Batman, which is a comedic role, but his portrayal of Andy, there's so much depth, there's so many layers there, and I love it so much. His delivery is great, and just one small thing, when he speaks Doug to Zabulba in that one scene, it honestly did remind me of how in the prequels young Anakin speaks Doug. I'll have to find some clip just to show the comparison, but
Chesko Zabulba, Chapoko Uman Gisa, Mitisa Radical Banapi Chapachawa.
Chubbity, chubby wumpy.
Chamatassaluna Tassan, Zabulba. What? Chamaminga Chabuba. Utunga Chabuba, Buna Eve, Chop Tatati.
His delivery is just so good. And he makes you sympathize so much with Darth Vader, which, he makes you sympathize more with Anakin Skywalker than the prequels did. And I thought the prequels were okay. So, yeah, there's character development there. There's character depth, and it's great. The angry speech he does at the end, when he's gonna quit pod racing, it's heartbreaking. I recently rewatched this and I'd forgotten how much that scene tugs at your emotions. It's so great. I will definitely put in a clip here in case you've forgotten, because it's amazing.
Because I've been lying to myself all these years, trying to convince myself that I was worth something. But I'm not.
Then we have Joe Walker playing Moff Jeffrey Tarkin in this case. It was really cool to see Joe Walker in a more serious role, because in every single Starkid show, he's the silly role, right? And yeah, it was cool to see him in a more serious role, and props to him for mimicking Tarkin's mannerisms. I didn't notice that until the most recent time I watched this again to make this review, but he really... I haven't seen a Star Wars movie in a while, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to find some clips to show the comparison between how he portrays Tarkin and how Tarkin is in the original movies.
The final checkout is completed. All systems are operational. What course shall we set?
Perhaps she would respond to an alternative form of persuasion.
I suppose you're right.
Yes.
Now, gentlemen, today is a monumental day.
And and his character throughout this was great too. I love how his and Annie's friendship is developed throughout the show, because in the beginning, obviously, Tarkin doesn't really like Annie, and it's not until he starts to understand what Annie's been through and the shit that Annie's been through, that they start understanding each other and they support each other, and in the end it's Tarkin who is just dude, you've got to do this pod racing thing, this is your life's dream, and it's what Jar Jar would have wanted you to do. I'll get to Jar Jar later, and don't go away just because I said Jar Jar. Jar Jar's... I'll get to him later, okay? Yes, okay. Then we have Denise Donovan as Mara Jade. And just any role Denise plays is... It's pretty cool. Denise also is... This is a different role that she normally plays. Normally she's the slightly naive blonde character. Not quite the dumb blonde, but reasonably naive characters. like Kiri and Firebringer and February and Starship. So seeing her as like this badass assassin who wants to be a slave dancer, like it's really cool. Her wig is glorious. And her dance at the end, like I mentioned before, where she choreographed herself, her audition dance to Jabba is great, and it's really awesome whenever like Denise gets to showcase her dancing skills because she's really good. Brian Holden plays Jar Jar, who is called JJ in the show, for copyright reasons. And oh my goodness, never did I think that I would sympathize this much with Jar Jar Binks. Like I said, I didn't hate the prequels as much as like it seems the majority of people did, and I did not despise Jar Jar as it seems the majority of people did. But he's kind of an annoying character, right? But in this show, he's such a sympathetic character, and it's the first scene is heartbreaking you see him in, and I don't know, Brian just plays it so well. And also he nails the voice, which is great. Yeah, he like the balance between like Jar Jar being like this funny character and also, he struggles with alcoholism and he's suicidal and probably struggles with depression, I'm guessing, is just... And when, Annie comes and realizes how much JJ has been suffering, I know this is like a tough topic and I don't feel entirely qualified to talk about it, but I feel like the way they handled it in the show was like it was pretty good. It wasn't really played off as too much of a joke. I think a criticism could be that they played it off as a little, like, there's a little bit of like a suicide type joke in there, which I was a bit uncomfortable with. But then when Annie comes in and realizes like what was happening, I don't remember exactly what he says, but I remember thinking like, oh, okay, this is good. Like, this is very good. And Jar Jar's death, I didn't think that I would tear up at Jar Jar Binks' death, but I did. And, I mean, part of that is obviously Chris's portrayal of Annie, but also Brian made Jar Jar likable. And, I have so many emotions about this show, guys. Not gonna lie. Then we have Julia Albane as Emily, and it's always great to see Julia Albane. She doesn't have like a ton of big roles, so just yes. Emily is a stormtrooper who Tarkin has a thing for. She is kind of just there as a romantic interest, which I'm not a huge fan of characters just being there as romantic interests, so, there's that. But a refreshingly cool thing about her character is she keeps like the stormtrooper helmet on the entire time. There's no like sudden unmasking and oh, she was beautiful the whole time type thing. Like, she's just there. Her appearance has nothing to do with her character. It's just her characterization, which I'll admit a little bit shallow, but it's great. Like, there's even the joke in the beginning of when Tarkin is like pointing her out to Annie, and he's like, oh, which one of those 3 stormtroopers over there is she? And then he's like, she's the beautiful one, of course. Like, and I thought that's really cool about her character, that she's a character. And even though she's just as a romantic interest, it's not her appearance that has anything to do with it. It's just, yeah, her characterization, who she is. So I thought that was very cool. Eric Con Gale plays Sebulba and Qui-Gon Jinn, and that was really cool because I'm pretty sure we've never seen Eric on stage before, at least not in such a major role. I'm gonna look that up. I was wrong. Eric Con Gale plays one of the wizard cops in Harry Potter senior year, but that's the only like role we've seen him in, and that's a super minor role with pretty sure like one line. But he's helped write some of the shows with Nick and Matt Lang. He helped write Me to My Dick as well as Twisted. So it was cool to see him on stage, and he fucking nails the Sebulba voice, as well as speaking Doug. Like, holy shit. He literally speaks a made-up language in a wonky voice on stage, like, for most of his lines. And I am not a big enough Star Wars fan to be well-versed in what Doug is supposed to sound like, but to my amateur ears, it sounded pretty like, it sounded right. So, I mean, if you know more about the language of Doug than me, feel free to criticize his pronunciation, but I thought it was pretty impressive. Also, the shiny leather leggings things, am I right? Oh, good lord. Okay. His portrayal of Qui-Gon is pretty great too. And I mean, accent on point. That dude, he's good at voices. Maybe he'll be in more Starkid shows in the future. Maybe. And I mean, the puns, that whole Qui-Gon Jinn scene the puns are great. I am always a fan of puns, so that scene is great. We have Joe Moses as Bob, or Boba Fett, and Veers, who is one of the Imperial, I think he's like a captain. I mean, he has fairly minor roles. He does say "that's absurd" at one point, which, I mean... And there's that one bit with Boba Fett's jetpack. I mean, it's great. It's not very fast, but, like, it's okay. Oh, I think I didn't mention before. The scenes with, like, the Imperial officers, they have more, like, realistic opinions on Darth Vader than they do, like, in the original movies. They're like, yeah, he's kind of weird, and what does he, like, actually contribute to what we're doing right now? He just, like, sits there and, like, force chokes us. Do we really need him? Which I thought was pretty cool. And then we have Meredith Stepien. For most of the show, she is in the band and, like, does vocals and stuff. But in the one scene where Mara Jade is going to audition for Jabba, Meredith Stepien plays Ula, who is one of the dancers, who is also auditioning. It's a small role, but, like, it is an unforgettable role. Meredith Stepien she's so nice, at least from what I can tell. And in this character of Ula, I despise her so much, because she reminds me of, like, the condescendingly nice girls from high school. I'm sure everyone has met one of those, but that's basically what Ula is. And she was believably horrible, which I'd say is quite the feat for Meredith Stepien, who's like a literal ray of sunshine. And then last but certainly not least, we have Nick Lang as Pappy Palpatine and Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, all of his scenes are just fucking iconic. Especially as Obi-Wan, that entire scene where he, like, points out the plot holes and inconsistencies in Star Wars is probably, like, one of my favorite scenes in the entire show. As Pappy, he's just... Also, Nick Lang is good at voices, too. Like, holy shit, man. Like, wow. But yeah, Obi-Wan... This entire cast is just so fucking hilarious. Right, so, Annie a Parody is great. If you haven't seen it, because I know there were a lot of, like, negative-ish reviews when it first came out, you should go see it. Like, it's so underrated, and honestly, it's a really good show. And I know the format is first, like, it's weird how, like, it's like, they're not actually singing, it's the band singing, and it's first a little bit weird, which I think is what put people off of it, like, initially. But you get used to it eventually, and I mean, Talk Fine, they're super talented, and their voices are great. Yeah, I mean, the story is great, the acting is really good in this one. I mean, obviously, I like all of the Starkid shows, But yeah, I think this one has gotten a bit of a bad rap. So y'all should totally go see it. Even if you're not a Star Wars fan, I think you can still see this. You don't need a lot of knowledge of the Star Wars universe to get this musical. Like the Star Wars jokes that Annie tells throughout the show, they're supposed to be obscure. Like you're not supposed to know, like get the jokes most of the time. So yeah, I think even if you're not a Star Wars fan, you should totally check it out. There might be some jokes you don't get, but I think the general storyline is there. And most of the stuff plays on things you would already know about Star Wars, even if you're not a fan, like you haven't seen the movies. I mean, as long as you know who Darth Vader is and who, like, Jar Jar is, you're pretty much fine. Yes, so this was me talking about Annie, a parody. Next week, I am going to do another non-Starkid video. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to alternate between the two. Do a Starkid video and then like a non-Starkid video until I've gone through the entire chronology of Starkid shows. In Starkid news, as of today, we don't know exactly what they're announcing for Starkid's 10th anniversary, but we know they are announcing it soon because they filmed it a couple days ago. So I don't know if that will have changed when I post this, but I personally cannot wait. So yeah. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all later. Bye.